My name is Keith Mullen, and I'm the Executive Director of the NSBA, Saskatoon's Business Association. And as part of our NSBA webinar series, we are pleased and proud to have none other than Tracy Arnaud, the CEO and founder of Essence Talent Solutions, joining us for a talk on the new realities of what it's like to have a staff and what you can and may / should do moving forward. So just a reminder to everybody attending today that there are options to submit your questions either via the Q&A session. If you move your mouse across your screen, you'll see a little ribbon appear at the bottom. So there's a Q&A and a chat bubbles, which will come directly to myself and Tracy, and I will moderate questions. And I think, Tracy, you said that you're okay in answering questions as they come forward, but maybe save some to the end. So I'll monitor those questions so you can focus on your presentation. And if there's something pertinent to the topic that you're discussing at that time, maybe I'll bring it to your attention so you can address it at that time. Is that what you would prefer?
Sure. Okay. What's best? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then, without further ado, I will delete my screen to a NSBA logo, and I'll turn it over to you, Tracy, to run the show. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Well, hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen somewhere. Just 1 second. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty with it. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about this. I'm just having an issue here. 1 second.
I've unmuted my mic, Tracy, so let me know if there's anything I can do.
Yeah, it's not, for some reason, it's not coming up.
Do you have your program running that you're going to use?
Yeah, it's right there.
And it's not
sharing. Oh, I got it now. It's coming. Sorry, I just had to shut. There we go. So, okay. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. So today I want to talk to you about as our businesses are changing, and I'm sure that you're looking at your businesses and realigning maybe some of your services or maybe just some of your business plan in general. I just wanted to really talk to you about something near and dear to my heart, and that's about workplace culture and where do employees fit within that business plan. So I'm going to really quickly just kind of go around business today and how it's really changed from 3 months ago, and knowing that it's probably going to change in the next 2 weeks. And then I want to move into customer experience, because probably, and I would assume that your customers are going to be the forefront of what that business plan looks like. And I want to talk about the customer experience and where does employees fit within that customer experience. Then go into workplace culture and just talking about a positive and effective workplace culture. And then just quickly go into current employee state, and then how your employees are going to align with your new business plan. And then when all these changes are happening, how we can talk about tips for positive change. So business today versus 3 months ago, and really, how has your business changed? And when we're reflecting on this, and we have to remember, and sometimes it's hard, that it's not just us, but it's everywhere around the world. So what's happening internationally is actually affecting us here in Saskatoon. So it's amazing to watch, but really when you think about it, our economies, our social systems, our behaviors are changing, our customer values have already changed, our employee motivators have definitely changed. When you think about technology, like who knew that we would all be on a Zoom presentation when 3 months ago nobody even knew what Zoom was. Definitely politics are at the forefront and can be very amusing. We talk about our competitors and just really, business partnerships are failing, and now we're starting to talk about businesses are closing. So when thinking about that, business owners are doing a really good job of adapting and just kind of just thinking about where are they going to go from here and how do they need to change. But really, in reality, it's all about your customer experience. So when you think about what a customer experience is, you might have heard, you know, customer service. We need to give really good customer service. But just like us as generational workers, how we treat our customers and the end result has actually changed through generations. And we're moving from a customer service generation into a customer experience generation. And what's really important about this is that it's actually your employees driving the customer experience. So we need to think about that. So really, the customer experience is all encompassing. It really does go about the entire experience. So it's about the touches and the smells and the tastes and the hears and how they feel. It's really about the thought about how you want them to be there, how they want to be there, rather than making them to be there. So I want to be here instead of I have to be here. So a simple example I want to give you between customer service and customer experience is an oil change. So when you think about customer service, really good customer service, you drive in and you bring it in and you get an oil change in a timely manner. And you know what, they're nice to you, they didn't overcharge you, your car's not broken when you leave, you know, pretty simple things, but you think, yeah, that's really good customer service. What customer experience is the all-encompassing. So maybe they'll come and pick up your car, then they'll bring it in, do the oil change in a timely manner, and then they'll clean the interior and exterior, and then they'll return your car. So really, that's what customer experience is versus customer service. And this is what now more and more companies are heading their cultures to be. 89% of companies actually compete in customer experience compared to just 36% in 2010. And again, I can't say it enough, that when you have exceptional customer service experience, it's really starting with your people. So there's always been the debate, and I mean, I've seen it on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that you've seen a few conversations about it or have made decisions over it, that do you put your clients first and employees second, or do you put your employees first and then your clients second, or your clients will be taken care of? And really, it's just Richard Branson. He said it several times. This is a famous quote. Clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. And we do truly believe this. So I want to move into that workplace culture and really talk about the employee-centric culture. So this is where what an employee-centric culture is about, is organizations that take care of their employees, and so they ensure that they take care of their customers. In the past 10 years, the workplace culture has really shifted to be employee-centric, and it really came from like where the financial district and really was looking at the bottom line, and it was really cutthroat, high pressure, take no prisoners, hiring employees, throwing them in, showing what they got, don't train, don't communicate, and if they don't work, we're just going to let them go. But all we're looking for is a positive bottom line. Well, that's just not the case nowadays. Investing in your employees will actually give you a positive line, a positive ROI. It is proven that if you actually focus on your employees first, the market share goes up, your top line revenue goes up, your team engagement and brand value go up, and what goes down is your cost of sales. So really, you're saving money by investing in your employees. So from the Queen's School of Business, they did a survey, and this is not just this is one of many surveys that have been done that's been proven that when you have disengaged workers, they're more absent, more accidents, and more errors and defects. And more importantly, when you have low engagement and low employee engagement, there's lower productivity, lower profitability, lower job growth, and lower share. But what does happen if you do have higher engagement, you have 100% more job applicants, because it is your employees that are actually referring your organization. And how you treat them is how they're going to communicate that. And with so many mediums right now, it's very easy to communicate a positive or a negative employer. And it has been said that how you do treat your employees will affect your brand for a decade. So thinking about that right now, how we're going through COVID and how you're working with your employees is very, very important. So thinking about the customer experience and thinking about the workplace culture, I want to now shift into talking about the current state. And I want to talk about the current employee state. So there's a whole bunch of things going on with employees and workplaces right now, and they're changing every day. So we have lots of things going on. We have the layoffs happening, either temporary or permanent. We have reduced hours. We have the lack of work. We also have, of course, now we have other businesses that are doing really, really well, and they're full force and overloaded. Other things that we need to think about is actually the home workplace. You know, we have like a mother and a father trying to work on the same computer at home. They're now being a daycare. They're now being a teacher. We also have employees that just don't want to come back to work. And then we have the next employee that is like banging on the door, hoping to come in. So we really do have to be empathetic about all the situations that are happening and all the different personalities. And with that, the unknown, because in reality, we just don't know. And this is all new to all of us. And it doesn't help that unemployment rate is skyrocketing, and from month to month, it's going higher and higher. So there is such an instability, and employees are feeling it, like they're really feeling unstable, and they are really concerned about their jobs. With Canada losing 1 million jobs in March and predicting worse for April, which, by the way, we've already seen it. You know, we just don't know where this is going, and employees just don't know where they stand within their organizations. So as you're looking at your business plan and you're realigning and you're adjusting and you're thinking about moving forward, and really there is still that unknown of who, when, where, how, you know, we need to think about where your employees fit. So now is the time to be like innovative and creative and think outside the box, and maybe not necessarily take the same path as how you would typically work with your employees or where they are placed within your organization. I would look at it in the big picture and think, okay, if this is where I want to go, who do I need to drive your business? Like, who is it that you need that will actually help you get to the next step? And it's not necessarily just letting someone go and hiring someone else, but like, let's look at the entire bus. So when we think about it, you can sit back and think, okay, who do I need to run this business and drive it forward in an employee-centric culture that will give exceptional customer experience? Who has the skills? But maybe there's people that have great skills, but maybe they're just in the wrong seat. Or can they have transferable skills into another seat? Or is there something that we can do like re-educate? Or is there something that we can do to give them a little bit more professional development or just a little bit more support? But they're a great fit within your organization. What about, again, the right people, but just really the wrong seat? Like, fit is very, very important in organizations, and we've said that time and time again. So really, you know, you have the right fit, they follow your values, but they just really are not going to be in the right seat to drive your business forward. You know what? Where can we put them? What else can we do with them? Is there anywhere else that we can align within the new business plan? And then, of course, there's just wrong people in a seat. Sometimes it's just not the right people going forward to drive your business. And it might just be because it's a different business line and you just don't need that skill set anymore. And it just really won't align within your organization. Or they just might just not be the right personality fit as you change your culture to wanting to be maybe a more employee-centric culture. You just have to really think about the all-encompassing. And then, of course, do you have a vacancy? So as you change your business lines, or maybe your services, or maybe you're adding and you really see a gap, and you probably will find this, that you will see gaps within your organization, and what do you need to fill that gap to drive your business forward? And then, of course, you might be thinking of efficiencies. How can you streamline processes? And now you might just have too many people. And this is where you might be able to move someone into a different seat, or maybe they're just not the right person for your organization anymore. Overall, there's some really tough decisions that are going to have to be made. But Jim Collins said it best, and I think he actually said it, this is best for right now, because we really just don't know where we're going to be taking this bus. But if you get the right people in the right seats and the wrong people off the bus, then they'll figure out on how to take it somewhere great. And changes are going to be made, like we all know that. So, but how you make those changes is going to affect your company culture, like I said, for a decade. And how you treat your employees is most important. So it will really be about communication, communication, communication. I can't say it enough. I'm sure you've seen it in lots more webinars. Communication is important, and not just communication, but being very transparent and honest about it. So why are we doing this? How are we going to do this? What is the end result? And you know what? It's totally okay to say you just don't know, but this is what we're doing right now. So your priority is your customers. How are you going to keep and get new customers moving forward? It's going to be by treating your employees by respect, because they're going to want to work for you. They're going to want to get on the bus and work with you through this time. So again, communicate, honesty and transparency, show empathy, be available. That's the other thing, is that now when you're working at home and you're head down in your business and you're trying to say, how am I going to survive this business in the next 3 months, and how are we going to move forward? You're very busy and trying to figure that out. And because you're not in an office and you're not touching and feeling, you still need to be available, and your employees need to know how to be available to you. And consistency is key. So with all these different mediums of like Teams and Zoom and text and email, be consistent on how you can be available for your employees. And most of all, show empathy. Everybody's going through a tough time right now, you included, and your employees. And we need to remember we're not all the same. We have totally different DNA, and we have to show empathy to all our employees. So in how to create a positive employee-centric culture, some of the notes that kind of were taken is just really being caring, providing support for one another, avoiding blame and forgive mistakes, because there will be mistakes that are going to happen. This is a tough time. Inspiring, and your minds are all over the place, and we're dealing with change. So inspiring one another at work, emphasizing the meaningful of the work, and treating one another with respect, gratitude, trust, and integrity. A survey done by Deloitte said, that 84% of employees have engaged in motivated employers at the top factors for company success. It's proven. Is there any questions at this point? Okay.
Sorry, Tracy, I didn't click my unmute button quickly enough, but it doesn't appear anything at this time. So, yep, but great presentation.
Okay, sounds good. So with Essence Talent Solutions, we actually originally were Essence Recruitment in 2000. We established in 2011 here in Saskatoon, and now we have offices in Calgary and Saskatoon. And in 2018, or about 2018, we changed our name from Essence Recruitment to Essence Talent, because we found that our clients were having a lot of questions around, talent management, employee culture, and not just why do you need to recruit someone, but like what do we need to recruit, but why are we recruiting, and where are they within our organization, and helping them all the way through performance management, onboarding, to all the way to an exit interview. So we added another division called Essence. It's an HR consulting division, but have found through the time during COVID, like this is the time that we really need to help our employees, or our clients with their employees, and just making the right decisions to ensure that, it makes sense for your business, and do you have the right people in the organization, and how are they being communicated, and how do we train, and how do we help them ensure that they are driving that bus forward. So we have decided that we're going to go back to our roots, and Essence Recruitment is coming back. We're going to drop the Essence Talent, and I have opened up a new company. So when you talk about adjusting and shifting through COVID, why not just open up a new business? So that's what we're doing. And we really are passionate about helping small to medium-sized businesses and not-for-profits around their talent management and their employees, and helping them get the right people and ensure that they have the right training. And so People Co. is created. And so we are just in the middle of launching it. And so you will see some changes, and we'll see Essence Recruitment come back in full force, and then we're going to have People Co. completely different team, or a different feel, different business lines, and it's really about helping people around their their talent management. So call me if you have any questions about that. And that's all I had for you today. So thank you. Any questions?
Well, thanks, Tracy. Nothing's appeared yet, so I'll just encourage those that are participating live, because of course this recording will also be available on our website afterwards. But encourage any participants that have questions of Tracy now to forward them along. I had a couple that arise as you were giving your presentation, Tracy. I'll maybe start with one to you, which is around, I've heard a few presentations talking about, you know, a company and sort of their reputation and or legacy, how it'll be defined during this period and so on. What about those companies that don't have a choice, like where their only option is to go through massive layoffs? And I can only imagine that the employers are not, you know, willingly going about this exercise, that it's really, you know, challenging for them. So how do they manage to, if you will, you know, manage their reputation through this process where they don't have a choice?
Yeah, and that will happen, and it's going to happen a lot, actually. And like I said, those tough decisions are going to have to be made. It's how they treat their employees throughout that process. So I have seen mass layoffs that have been absolutely awful, and actually they even come from corporate companies where they really do not, you can tell that they don't respect their employees throughout that process. It's because it's a lack of communication, it's a lack of transparency, they have set up situations where it's mass layoffs, so it's embarrassing to the employees. You know, so it's really about how they do it is what is going to be very important, because I mean, it is understanding that these layoffs are going to have to happen, but it's about how you communicate it and how you treat them throughout that process, and you treat them as a person and not an employee number is very, very important. The other thing I actually should talk about too is that there is some other business decisions that might have to be made, like the changes in their compensation package, or maybe the changes in their hours, or maybe it is a change that they're going from full-time to part-time, or it is just really a disruption in their employment contract. And that will happen, absolutely. But again, it's just on how you communicate that to the employees and tell them the why and the how this is going to happen, and really get them understand what why this end result is going to be meaningful to them and to the organization. So it's just about the communication.
Awesome, thank you. And we've had a couple of comments just in terms of feedback with respect to the presentation being very good, and I have to concur, Tracy, as mentioned already. One from Kim was that the takeaway for him on this particular presentation was the difference between customer service and customer experience. And so for anybody that may have joined late, would you mind just touching on the high points of what that differentiation is once again?
Yeah, for sure. So customer service is really about the now, like I shouldn't even say the now. It's really about the piece of just the interaction. So it's as simple of, you know, you can get someone on the phone. It's good customer service. So to be available, or if you're asking for something and then they respond, you know, that's what you're expected to get, right? But the customer experience is the whole entire encompassing. So it's about how you feel when you come into, retail is another example. Like when you walk into a store that smells good, that's clean, that there's, you know, friendly but not overbearing sales associates. They're knowledgeable. They can give you product knowledge, and then they talk about, like, they walk you through the process and then they'll walk you out. Whereas, you know, you can do the minimum, which is just the customer service, where it's going like, hi, how are you? Yes, they served you, you got your bag and you left. So, you know, there's a little bit of a difference there about just how they want to be there instead of how they have to be there, and just how they feel and touch through it, through an entire experience.
Yeah, no, I
hope that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. Thank you very much. And we as an organization talk about the member experience all the time with all the events that we do. So we're actually, of course, having to readjust that, recalibrate that as we move forward as well, because our events are going to look a lot different for the foreseeable future anyway. A few more questions and comments have come forward, Tracy. One is around someone who's indicating that their office is currently closed and may not reopen until phase 3 of the Saskatchewan Reopen Plan. Once they do reopen, how do they deal fairly with both the employees that want to rush back to the office full time and those that want to stay and work remotely as much as possible? How can you deal with that in a fair fashion?
So every situation is going to be different, but I think every employer has to be open that that's going to happen. So it's going to be it's really going to have those individual conversations and understand where they're at. And some of the time it's going to be a miscommunication. So the one thing that I want to make sure is that you're asking the questions to ensure that they're not assuming it's because of a certain reason. So we want to make sure to get down to the bottom of it. Why do they want to stay home? And is it because they have to have, is it because of daycare? Is it just because they just don't feel safe? Or is it, so some underlying issue that you're just not aware of? And so it's about how can you work that in with your business line, right? So I think that there are going to be, almost every employer is going to come up with that, where, we're going to have these employees that are going to be knocking down the doors to come in, and then there's employees that just won't come back to work until the vaccine, or doesn't want to come back to work until there's a vaccine, because they just feel back unsafe. So depending on what your business line is, and depending on if you can allow some people to come back to work and allow some people not to come back to work, or can you make different shifts so they do feel more safe? Or if it's because of daycare, well, how are we going to be able to support that? Because daycares aren't open, schools aren't open, they may not have any support. So we have to remember that and work around that somehow. But again, at the end of the day, you do have to open up your business. So it's about how can you adjust. Is there ways that you can be creative and innovative to be able to adjust? And it wouldn't normally be something that you would think of before COVID, but you're going to have to be a little bit more flexible about maybe hours, shifts, what their responsibilities are. If they're the right fit for your organization, you want to ensure that you can try to keep them as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. Here we have more of a comment, but you may want to in turn reply with a comment, Tracy, but I'll just read it out to you. I'm finding one of my biggest challenges as a small business is not knowing the timelines that we are dealing with. And that's hard for everyone to deal with and hard to plan for, both from a staff complement perspective as well as financially. Do you have any insight or thoughts around how planning can be better accommodated in this current scenario?
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. I'm like that here at Essence. And I think that, with the lack of the unknown, and I think that's probably why we're so uneasy, because we can't plan, for a final result, exactly how it's going to turn out, because we don't know that end result. The only thing that I could say to that is I think that we just need to, stay on top of what is happening, and it's going to be small changes, as we're just going to have to change as we know what is happening, and it's probably going to be small changes, and just keeping in communication that, okay, we may be opening tomorrow, or we may have to change this in 2 days from now, but keeping communication with your employees on really what is that unknown, and having a plan A, B, and C of what that could look like short term, midterm, and maybe a little bit longer term, and adjust with that, and make sure the employees know all three so they're readily available for each plan. That's the only, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, and if someone else had a better suggestion, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Another one, thanking you for your presentation today. And it says, since you work with many nonprofits, do you have any thoughts or suggestions for a board of directors as they work with the CEO/executive director through this time? So any advice to colleagues on boards as to how to deal with their leadership?
Yeah, well, I think, and what I've actually seen with even some of the boards that I'm on, I think it's about the communication of just being, depending on how it is, we've seen a lack of communication, and I've seen a lot of communication, and I think NSBA would be a good example about where we're really in contact and understanding what is happening internally. So, I think that that's very important, is that, we, as a volunteer, you think about that this is, may not be your forefront right now, but it is your responsibility as a director on that board to support your CEO. So reaching out more and really understanding what's happening internally, and how is it still, and because these not-for-profits also have to shift, right? And they have to adjust to what is going on, just like a business is. So is the board of directors actually supporting that CEO with the new direction? And have you actually heard from the CEO of that not-for-profit? Because I've run into that situation too. So it's all about, again, communication, and maybe it's about reaching out as a board and saying, okay, where are you at? Where do you need help? How are we going to get through this in the short term? And come up with a business plan just like we would as a business. And I would think of it almost the same. But I have seen a lack of communication, and I think that it's important still to have that communication, stay in touch, and ensure that and help that CEO through this process.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I don't see any other open questions, so once again, we'll just encourage our participants watching live to come forward with any they may have at this time. It's great to have a resource, an expert such as Tracy available to answer these types of questions. Another one that I was thinking of too, Tracy, with respect to the current dynamic in unemployment and so on, would you, well, I won't answer my own question, so I'll just continue on with it. Would you encourage people who are finding themselves out of employment to expand their education and or skill sets so that they are more employable, I guess, if you will, in other opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So I would ensure that you have dusted off your resume and you have updated that for sure, and really analyzing what is your skill sets and where do you want to be in your next career. So this is, I know, a tough time for sure, but this might be the time where you as an employee need to think, okay, what can I do next? Where do I want to go next? And what do I need to do to get there? And it may be some professional development. There are so many online classes now. Like, there's so many that you can do online. There's definitely that. There's professional development. There's, just really just evaluating even like what you do well and where you do have some challenges, and taking a look on how you can actually close that gap on those challenges for sure. But yeah, that's not for your resume, and evaluating where you want to go next are very, very important. And reaching out to people, like having those connections, and just, this is a community. Like, Saskatoon is a community, and people do help each other, absolutely. So reaching out to your connections is very, very important. This is still like, who do you know kind of city, so for sure.
Okay. And then down that path then, in terms of training that you're taking, what would your advice be in terms of what types of skill sets to be developing, or where do you see a perceived need in the marketplace moving forward? Do you have that kind of a crystal ball on your desk?
That's not a fair question right now. Things are different from 3 months ago.
Sure.
It is ever changing. I would have to say, number one, first, I would think about what you really want to do first. So there is a list, and I did just do actually a presentation on it about a month and a half ago, about the top 10 roles that are coming in, the top 10 non-existent roles that are, slowly fading away. And you can Google that actually if you wanted, or if you wanted to call me, I can get that information to you. But number one, I would check first is about yourself, about what do you think you're good at, and where do you actually want to project your career, and what skill sets you need to have that, and what's missing is most important. But I mean, everything is going to be around technology. It's one way or another, it is going to be technology. There still is the customer service. Interesting enough, that the role of inside sales is coming back in full force. It was like a decade ago, it's kind of one of the roles that organizations have taken away. It's actually totally coming back because of ensuring they're going back to that personal customer service. So sales will never go away. Technology, leadership roles definitely won't go away.
Yep, those are
operations. Those are kind of some of the top 3. But if anybody wants that list, I do have it.
Okay, all right. Well, just maybe give one last round or one last call out for anybody that has any questions from any of the comments that Tracy may have just made around that. And I guess maybe I'll just ask one more in case someone else has a follow-up that they wanted to type in or whatnot. But around that, in terms of the leadership development that I've taken, it always talks about working on your strengths rather than trying to work on your weaknesses, and rather have others that are around you that can fulfill those I guess shortcomings if you may have them. When you're doing your professional development or skills training, upgrading, where would you continue or encourage people to follow that path in terms of continuing to work on their strengths, or should they be expanding them somewhat beyond those strengths?
I would say expand. Like, I would look at what your challenges are, where you're weak at, and see where you can actually maybe change those from a weakness to a strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think about it of more encompassing than just trying to direct yourself into one, because I mean, the stronger you get into one area means that you're going to be more challenged in that one area that you're kind of ignoring. Like, I would look at that and see how you can get better.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I've just hit my camera back on just to show everybody that I am a live person that may have missed the start of our webinar today, and I don't see any other questions, Tracy, arising just yet, but I do know that you're readily available and certainly out in the community, whether or not it's during these COVID times when you're presenting many of these webinars and or available on several Zoom calls. So I would encourage people to have a follow-up with Tracy if you do have any other questions that you did not want to incorporate into today's presentation. But I guess that being said, Tracy, I'm trying to delay as long as I can, but I don't see any other questions coming up. So I guess what we'll say is we are good for today, and I thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. It's clear that you are on top of the current environment in which we find ourselves in, and congratulations to you on the development of People Co. I think that's a wonderful transition and pivot on your part, and as someone who encourages entrepreneurism at all times, I would say well done, and congratulations on this new endeavor. So with that being said, it's today's Friday, May 1st, and next week we have at this point, our webinar series slate is open. However, we do have a number of irons in the fire, so you can watch for developments on social media as they arise, but we expect that we'll have one, if not two more webinars next week, and we will hopefully see you then. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful long weekend and enjoy this lovely spring weather that we have developing. And yeah, thank you again, Tracy. Do you have any final comments?
No, thank you.
No?
And just if anybody has any questions or need further explanation, don't hesitate to reach out.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. And thanks, everybody. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.